Hey, folks, welcome back to the Land Fixer podcast. I'm your host, Logan Swanson. And today we got Rooster Vance. Everybody knows him. Nobody likes him. Here he is.
I'm trying to fix that reputation. People think I'm, some bitch from Texas, baby. And I am, but not in probably the way that they think.
That's right. That's right. Folks, as usual, if you're looking to buy or list your land, go to primelandexchange.com. Check that out. Also, if you're looking to fund your land flips, go to landpartnerfunding.com. And if you haven't already, hit subscribe and check this out on YouTube so you can check out our faces while you listen. It's awesome. You'll love it.
Come on. Come on.
That's right. That's right. All right, Rooster, glad to have you, man.
Yeah.
I actually have a lot of questions for you. We pre-gamed a little bit and I hid all of the hardest questions I'm going to answer you so you're unprepared.
I'm glad.
And I usually start with a little bit of background. So you probably already said it a bunch on other podcasts, but kind of tell folks high level view of how you got into land investing and, where you are now.
Well, I started off, about 12, 13 years ago. I was a remodeling contractor and I decided to get my real estate license. And during that whole process, I ended up learning to wholesale houses, actually. And so I got my real estate license but didn't really use it. I just became a wholesaler and held my license. And after a few years of wholesaling, I started flipping some houses because I had my little remodeling company. And we did that for years, and then I went through some changes in life and divorce and those things and decided that houses weren't my path anymore. And seen some guys doing really well in land around 2020, 2021. And so that's when I made my switch into land. And for me, I grew up on, around my grandpa's farm and dad's hunting ranch and things like that. So land was something I already understood really well. Right. And so it took me about a week to transition from wholesaling houses to land. And so it's been great. At first, I kind of added land to the mix. I didn't just jump ship on houses. I just kind of slowly over a year or so, kind of faded the houses out more to land. And so, but actually, I'm still doing some houses again too. So I just think that having land, in your arsenal and understanding land is great for every investor. We shouldn't just kind of be boxed into one class of real estate. And land is really easy for anybody to learn. And it's kind of the foundation of every real estate transaction, right? There's land involved in everything, right?
That's right. Yeah, that's what I was saying. I'm like, land is the foundation of real estate. It's really hard to go wrong. So if you can understand the even not all of land, but whatever your market, the area you want to specialize in, the product, whatever it might be, you're going to have a long career ahead of you, and
Yeah.
we're experiencing, I think we were talking a little bit earlier, we're kind of in a dip or hopefully coming out of a dip right now in land.
No, we're not. Definitely.
Yes. Yes. But whatever, even that slow period, we didn't die. It's not like I was holding a ton of single family homes that weren't renting or anything crazy. I had to pay some taxes.
Yeah, exactly. It's just, we holding it hasn't been a problem for us either. It's just been less profit. The profit's coming faster, right? And so it's not like we're in a pickle and we're wanting to, have a fire sale and get out, however we can. It's just that we're having to hold this stuff a little bit longer, so those 200% returns we were looking at are only going to be, 50% returns or 100% or whatever it is, those are silly numbers. But so the land space is safe, it's a safe place to be. So,
Hey, folks, so sorry to interrupt this amazing podcast. What a wonderful host you have so far. But I want to bring you our sponsor for today. Today, we are talking about Pebble, REI.com. My good friend Jesse Kwong has been really making something special over there. Okay, so if you're a land investor, you've done a few deals, you've proven that it works to yourself, and you're kind of stuck trying to use spreadsheets or making some sort of complicated system of Zapier and other CRMs to try to create a hodgepodge and make everything fit together in your business. You don't got to do that anymore. Pebble is built for serious land investors. It's got a fully integrated phone system so you can call and text. It's got your marketing management tools so you can launch and track your campaigns easily. A full property data system. That's right. You don't need to have a whole different software for your leads and get them all the way organized into contracts. There's also built-in due diligence tools so you can pull your neighbor data records, property details, floodplains, all that sort of stuff built right in. And folks, guess what? AI agents have been announced and they are coming this year. If you're using AI powered assistants, you'll be able to automate key parts of your business using this. If your systems aren't centralized, you're going to have a real hard time doing that. So now's the time to streamline everything into Pebble. So you're going to be ahead of the game instead of scrambling to catch up. Now, folks, I got an exclusive offer for you. You know I do. If you go to pebble.rei.com/the land fixer, you're going to get a $50 credit so you can hop in there, do some mailers, pull some data, send out contracts, whatever you need to do. Again, that is pebble.rei.com/the land fixer. Check it out. You're going to love it.
Yeah.
Um,
And when you got in, did you do any sort of course or education or anything?
I luckily I had some guys that were kind of around me, that were educators themselves, and so I kind of just went into their Zoom classes and hung around their communities and learned it pretty quick. Bought a few steaks for some gentlemen that and picked their brains. But like I said, I was already I was already wholesaling a little bit of commercial and a bunch of houses, so
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't that big of a stretch. The one thing that takes a little bit of learning is understanding, say, like, entitlements and things like that for
Yeah.
subdivisions. That takes a little bit longer. So learning the wholesaling thing wasn't really learning for me. It was just discovering it, right? Going, oh, you can do it like this. And oh, that's how you do land. Okay. Now I know how to wholesale land. Right. And then, but understanding how to value land, right? That's the part that takes a little while to learn, because you got infill lots, you've got rural agricultural land that's great for rural subdivides, which is what we focus on. And then you've got development land, right? The land that lay in the path of progress that has that infrastructure or is in line with infrastructure. And so understanding all of that can take a little a little longer. And so that's why I'd say for folks kind of in the beginning when they're delving into land to focus on maybe one class, one niche, maybe infill lots or maybe the development land. Infill lots is going to be your quick little money, right? Wholesaling infill lots to builders. Rural subdivides seem to be what we classify as like medium money, right? We're going to take 50 acres and make it into 5, 10 acre spots, right? We're going to try to
Yep.
sell this in 6, 9 months. And then your development deals with entitlements that could be a year or two, right? And so
Mm-hmm.
3 different kind of areas we play in, and it's kind of some quick, medium, and long money, right? And so land provides that also, which is where we're all trying to move to that long money, but we still do our small deals, right?
Yeah, yeah, and I'm curious, I have a background in remodeling and construction as well, and I've always had this temptation to start building homes or doing any of that. Have you had
Yeah,
that temptation? Are you thinking of building anything?
I'm more of a remodeling guy, and I've built a couple of houses, but for me, it's not with my attributes, with my network, right? We're all different and in a different situation. With me, no, I've never really thought about doing that professionally. Although I have thought about doing some barn dominiums. I've
Yeah.
got a buddy that does the shelves and I do the finish outs. And so it's like, hey, we could do some barn doors. And I've put a couple of those together, but still, and thought about trying to scale that, right? Branding that up. But I thought, no, the time, the effort that's going to take is just, going to deter me from what I'm doing over here. Right. And so some distractions can come in the form of opportunities. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so we have to be able to discern, and not only from the people that were around us have good discernment, but of the opportunities. Right. So,
Yeah, and that's a really good point. It's actually something that I've talked about, not really on podcasts, but like my friends that are in the land space. There's always this like shiny object syndrome that's going around, and I'm for us, we started in 2018, so we've seen a few of the different waves of different whatever acquisition types or land deals to do whatever.
there's
And I
always
think
the
we've
greatest thing, that's
yeah, and
coming.
I think we got to this point this past year. The market slowed down enough that a lot of the chaff's kind of fallen out of our industry. I hear a lot of people going back to 9 to 5 jobs and things of that nature. So I think like the people that have been able to white knuckle and get through this and they had enough land to sell and kind of get through, I think we're going to be in a pretty good position to hit this new wave. I mean, I think summer is going to bring a
I
lot of
agree.
really good stuff for us.
And
But
the
yeah,
fact
that.
it's a roller coaster, right? The market it's like the stock market. It's up and down, but if you back way up, it's always going up, right? And so it's about staying the distance. And so the fly-by-nighters always come and go. And so the great thing about pushing through the down markets and it's getting to the upside is that if you can push through to that upside where it starts to swing up again, you look behind you and most of the competition's gone and you're there in stage and your business is ready to go and ready to scale up. And so it's those businesses that, and I know this from experience, from having, when I did it in the beginning and we hit a downtrend and I pulled back, went back to remodeling, and then it went crazy and I'm like, shit, I got to go get back in it. And so it's one of those things where you just got the people that can push through and stick to it, stick to your guns and get through the hard times. Y'all are going to eat the best when it starts to turn back up.
Yeah, and I think there's something to be said for folks like yourself that, and I'd like you to tell us more about this, but like early on, you focused on a brand identity, right? And I think people who understand the necessity of a brand identity understand the necessity of like a 10-year or 20-year business trajectory. Those are the folks that will be in it for a long time. The folks that I see struggling a lot that are like calling me saying, I don't know what's going on. Their company is just Joe Schmo Land Company, and all they're doing is bouncing county to county. They're not putting down roots. They're not specializing in anything. Whereas you came in, you're right away on a new platform. I saw you on TikTok first, I think, So tell us about how you like decided a brand identity, what channels you were going to pursue it, and has that paid off for you?
It paid off. When I first started, here's what happened. It's like I was on social media a little bit, right? And I knew that I wanted, and I was capable of coaching and mentoring. Like I'd wholesaled hundreds of houses at that point, and I had people that I mentored, right? But I knew I was going to switch to land, and I was living out on a horse ranch at the time, and I was engaged to a woman that was a horse trainer, right? And so horse women, that's a whole nother podcast, guys. Might not, but anyway, so all I did was I was out there on the ranch all the time, and I had a ton of production value around me. Right? We had a half-mile racetrack at the ranch and 100 horse stalls and 100 horses out there. And so what I did was I thought, I'm going into land and I want to brand myself. And here I am in Texas, baby. This is Texas. And I'm a Texan through and through, right? And so in Texas, we have our own heroes. We have our own legends. We got Mattress Max. We've got the Kinky Friedmans, right? And so who's going to fill their shoes, right? These guys, I thought, okay, well, here we go. Here's my chance. I put two and two together. I thought, the guys that are going to fill the shoes are the ones that are going to go out and shove their own brand down the throats of the people, basically, right? And so here's what I'm going to do. Land fits perfectly with me just stepping back into my roots and just leaving my cowboy hat on instead of wearing my ball cap like I had been the last 10 years. But, and so I just went back to my roots. I'm from the country, I shed the whole Austin yuppie look, which I admit at one point I had like really kind of almost stepped into, but I was raising babies. I was working in the city, right? But that was another one of those things where this is kind of part of my branding, and stepping back out as Rooster Vance was kind of part of a healing journey for me, right? After the divorce and all, my life kind of didn't go the way it wanted. And so I went and I lost a bunch of weight. I got in shape again, right? I'm 40 years old and that midlife crisis coming down. And a very influential man once told me, he said, Alan, that's when I was Alan still, right? He said, every man's got to reinvent himself one or two times in their life, right? And so the guy that told me that was Ray Wiley Hubbard, the Texas songwriter. And I was in the music business for a while back before I was contracting. I had been a musician and managed some Texas country artists, and I was Parker McCollum's first manager, 10, 12 years ago. He was my last client before he blew up. And so he inspired me to kind of create a character as if I was, a musician still, right? And so I'm like, okay, here I am. And so I took all of that and thought, I'm going to do a personal brand. I'm going to be the brand myself. I want to make myself be the Mattress Mac of Texas land, right? And so we're going to do a little giveaway. And here next year, we're going to start doing a giveaway every year because, just that whole Mr. Beast giveaway thing he
That's
proved,
right.
that right, spread around money. And I thought, okay, last year we're going to do a giveaway, 5 acres out in West Texas, something we're paying 10, 12 grand for. And the video where we announced it, got 9 million views. And I picked up 350,000 followers from that one video. Right. So it's yeah, and so that's what Rooster is about, right? We want to be the man with. Well, I'm your man with Texas land, baby. Come on, and so I've got this website, nocreditland.com, and we, with some investors, friends of mine, we partner in deals and subdivide them, and a lot of the parcels we're able to sell on owner financing, but that's just we've got a guy, right? We sell them that buys the notes at the table. Okay, so
Yep.
we've got two men. We'll exit the lots in cash, or we'll exit them at 35% higher price, sell the note out. And so it allows, and so I thought Rooster is a man that's going to bring land to the people, right? No credit check or low credit, lower down payments, let people buy homesteads. And so, whereas in the beginning, my brand started out as just going out and being Rooster the wholesaler, teaching people how to wholesale. As soon as I did a land giveaway, I became Rooster the man of the people. And then I doubled down on that by saying, hey guys, whoever I know that has owner finance land, y'all just put it on my website and let's create this place. And I'm just going to drive people to it. Well, now I get 50,000 people a month to this website, and so I all those buddies that I let put land on there that are not my subdivides, now I charge them, so, a little $600 for a fee, and we sell some of those. But what that does is it lets me get VA. I have a VA. Actually, I have two VAs, and they follow up and they drive leads, and and so it really pays for itself, and it just helps us sell our tracts faster. So when I go to a guy I say, hey, I've got this great land deal. Give me $1 million. We're going to subdivide it. I'm going to give you $1.5 million back, over the year or something. He's like, well, how are you going to sell these? Right. Well, bing, bing. I've got the dispo set up. Right. And so I go the extra mile. I'm not just going to list the tracks. We've got our dispo and all the branding behind it. And so what the branding does for me. Right. So now it helps me raise money easy.
Yep.
It helps me go all the way to dispo, just use my name, and it's working. And so it's small still on the scale of things. It's still a very small business, but like you said, the 10 and 20-year vision is that my daughters and my grandkids are eating off of old Rooster's royalties or whatever it is. However, the income from the finance properties that we just stop selling the notes when we don't need to sell the notes anymore, and we start holding the notes, right? And there we have long-term cash flow. And so there's all different types of ways to play it. So, but yeah, the brand has been really, I was blessed with the whole viral 9 million videos, but we took a chance and it paid off. We thought, hey, if we can give away a $10,000 property, are we going to get $10,000 worth of marketing out of it?
Probably.
Probably so. And TikTok, so this is an interesting community. I really got sucked into it over the past couple of years. People get really comfortable with TikTok. You can build great rapport on TikTok. It's a great place to warm up an audience. The cheapest place to get leads I've ever seen. And so if you're willing to, you don't have to go be a fool like I am sometimes, but if you're willing to get vulnerable and, share your story and continually do that enough to where you start to see a couple things that's working, and then double down on that and keep doing that a few months, you'll, it's not hard to pick up a little crowd and build 10, 15,000 followers in a few months. And then after that, you need to get creative like we did with the land giveaway to make you go really pop off and go viral. Now I've seen other guys do giveaways and it didn't quite work out and they didn't get 9 million views. So like I say, we were blessed with that. And
I've done 3 or 4 land giveaways and they've all paid off.
Yeah.
It's been great. But like the most important part is are you going to foster and re-engage those relationships once they pour in? And I think that's where, if you are lucky enough to get some level of virality, most people aren't prepared for the next step, which is like, oh, now I have to
Yeah.
manage to keep these eyes on me for a long time. And I think that's a really smart move of branding yourself, because then all you do is you pick up your phone and, you know, for you, I'm going to go do some Texas country shit and people are going to resonate with it because they already know that's my brand identity. And it's really smart, especially like you said, if you live on a Texas farm, you live in a whole content rich environment. Where for me, I'm a land investor. I live like 5 minutes from the stadiums here in Arlington.
Yeah.
So for me to go find blank pieces of land to go get some footage on, I have to drive. Like, we're putting in a road next week in one of my developments, so I'll be out
You
there
gotta drive
flying the
out
drone and
Yeah.
yeah,
My
yeah.
my cousins are from the area, Mansfield, Arlington out there. They've got a little horse property and stuff. So if you need a spot, holler. No, I'm just
Hell
kidding. But
yeah.
yeah, if I'm ever in the area, I'll definitely holler, man. We got to get a stake up there and for Arlington or something sometime. But yeah, the whole you got to use what you have, right? Like I saw the production value there. And here's another thing, guys. Like I was a musician and a songwriter, right? And I was in the music business, and so I have before I went on TikTok acting silly. Many years of my life I've been on stage and I've sung to hundreds and thousands of people or played, music in front of them. And then I also worked in television production. When I was 19, I moved to LA. My country ass moved to LA and I got a job. I walked into a bar down there and got a job as a doorman. And then that night, like the second night I worked there, they had a rap party for MTV and VH1. And the producer walked in there and liked my shirt. I had some band shirt on. And the next day I started as a production assistant at MTV. And this was in the year 1999, and so I was in LA for 2 years as a PA, as a young redneck. And I drove a jacked up diesel Dodge, and I would get it. The roof was scraped up from driving it into parking garages, in LA. So I've been
Yeah.
around,
Yeah.
but
And not to keep capitalizing, you're talking a little bit more about like how smart it is to brand yourself. I think that's one of the things that's really missing. Like people that are coming into this space, they need to recognize the culture that we live in. You either have to be extremely good at finding the rare deal where you can just buy it cheap and sell it real fast, and those are still out there. But for something that's long term, consistent, reduplicative, that allows you to build connections easily, have a certain presence or an air on phone calls and negotiations and raising capital, something that really pays for itself over and over and over and over again, that's branding.
that's the branding. You're
Yes.
absolutely right.
Yes. And
And I
like,
think I was luckier. I think I understood that a little bit and kind of and I got lucky more. But the once I started to really occur to me what was happening, I was going, oh, they're like this Rooster Vance thing. I really started to push hard on it. I was being silly at first, and I didn't have the silly logo and all that, but I really started to double down and shove it down people's throat. I heard Brad Lay, the coach and mentor, talk about Grant Cardone, and he said, the one thing that Grant Cardone did that I didn't agree with was he shoved himself down people's throats for years. It was
yeah.
10 pieces of content a day, and it was the same thing over and over and over and again. And 10 years later, he's Grant Cardone, so we got to not only put ourselves out there, we got to continually to kind of, we have to fill their shoes. We have to take them basically,
Yeah.
I was saying in
Yep.
the beginning. So
Yeah,
anyway,
and I
yeah.
think you're smart for identifying a specific platform too to really stand out on, because that's something that I struggle with, is feeling like there's so many different, like if I'm going to create content, it has to go here and here and here and here, and you're never really a specialist at anything, and you're just kind of throwing content out hoping that something sticks or goes viral or whatever, and if it doesn't, then you start feeling compelled to go pay for traffic or whatever. So I think that was really smart of you to be like, all right, there's one or two places where I'm going to spend my time, and I'm really going to engage the community there and really learn what that algorithm is requesting of me in order to garner a bunch of attention, and then stick to that.
That's what I did. I actually spent a year, 9 months to a year on TikTok with another account under trying to get to learn the algorithm, all of that, and understanding what worked, right? And so I just made an account with a random, like a Texas flag as the picture, right? And it was like Texas shit.
Yeah.
And I remember it was during like the NPR, the final rodeos, right? And so I was on TikTok and it was all over. It was a bunch of viral stuff. This kid, Rocker Steiner, he's this Bronco rider. He's 19. He's going to win all this stuff, whatever. And so I was like, okay. I had seen a video about how somebody said just post, videos about whatever's popular and trending. And so I started reposting like screen shared videos of this kid riding rodeo bulls, right? Well, I got 4,000 followers in like a week posting in this account. And so then I was like, all right, I kept doing that. It got up to 10,000 followers. So then I just wiped all the videos and rebranded the account, but now it has 10,000 followers and I can go live on it,
Yep.
and I have that account working for another business. So it's not hard but to figure out, basically the TikTok whole algorithm is basically an ADD female human. That's what you've got to, and not necessarily female, any really. I just say that
Yeah.
silly, but it's an ADD person, right? And so that's what you've got to feed to. And if you can keep the attention of the most ADD person who may be very interested in everything you have to say, but they're trained to swipe and they lose, consciousness of their thoughts every 5 seconds. Like you have to keep pulling them back in, right? It's get their attention and re-pull them back in every 3, 4, 5 seconds to try to keep viewership. And once you start to learn that and how to do that, which I actually am about to put on a webinar about it, because I spent last night, I was probably up until 3 a.m. on my whiteboard, and I really broke down. I've been doing this, but I've really broken down the, what the common traits my successful viral videos have in common, right? And I
Yep.
really start to analyze those. And so digging into it from my own personal experience, and I'm about to start just kind of following a certain recipe. So watch, y'all are going to watch Rooster Vance video. We're going to start popping big time. I get 20,000 videos average, maybe up to 100,000 views on a video once a week, but still most of my videos are 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8,000, right? But we're going to push that. I figured it out, and it is a recipe, and it takes a little bit of work. So even when you have the following, you gotta really put in the work. And so what I've done as of now, I have to say that every video I've made has been on my phone. I've edited and posted every video in like 5 seconds. I don't spend a lot of time on production itself. I just do three things really. And I'll tell you real quick. When you first open the screen, you've got to have two hooks going on, a visual hook and an audio hook. Okay. And they need to be different. If they're opposing, it helps because it makes their brain start to analyze one thing and analyze another. This takes a little bit longer, right? And then you pitch that hook into your setup where you set up the whole story, and then you're going to tell your story,
Write this
and then
down.
there's better
Okay.
be a payoff in the end, baby. Come on, you gotta. It's like a punchline, right? And so think about a comedian. You're going to say something crazy the first line, and it gets everybody's attention, and then you're going to set up the story that's going to play out and it's going to pay off somehow. And it's going to pay off in dopamine in the brain, right? Each time you do this right, it's a chemical reward in the viewership's brain. And so that's all we're doing. That's all we're doing.
Yeah. And that's very fundamental. That's a perfect way you put it, because humans learn better than anything else through storytelling.
Mhm.
Now, just because we have really short attention spans doesn't mean we still don't want stories. We just want like a 3-act story that is, like you said, intro, story, conclusion, like that.
Boom. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
in
it's
a
got
minute.
it's got, you have to keep lifting up their curiosity, right? And so the hook creates a curiosity, and then the story setup should pique their curiosity. Where they're, oh yeah, I do want to listen to this. And then throughout the story, it's really a downtrend if you're not continuing to support that curiosity and lift it back up in creative ways, however you can. That's the art of it. It's an art, but there's also a recipe there.
So would you say that your time as a musician kind of informed you on learning about human patterns and how to, I guess, take advantage of that?
Yeah, well, connecting with humans, like as a songwriter, but that's really, it's life experience, I think. I didn't get really into this until my 40s, right? And so taking all the life experience I had as a musician, as being a dad, as a brother, a business owner, right? A winner, a loser. You just take all of that. And if you're at a spot to where, you get to that point in your life to where you don't give a shit what people think anymore, right? Then you're good.
Yeah.
Then you've broken through to a realm to where you can put yourself on a pedestal simply by having the confidence and being vulnerable and putting together a story and going out there and telling it repeatedly. The fact is that anything repeated to a person enough times is accepted. Okay. That's why propaganda works. That's why payola works in the radio industry and always had, right? The big artists, they get to pay for the streams. They shove their music down your throats. It's not good music, but I'm going down the road and I got some stupid song my kids have been playing, right, stuck in my head. And so you need to, like I say, when you shove yourself down people's throats, that's what you're kind of doing, because there's 5 other guys that do the same thing that you do, right? And so how are you going to be extra? First, you're
Yep.
going to be extra in the way you look or the way you present yourself. And then you're going to be extra in the fact that you're going to put yourself out there, more. So,
Yeah, and I think there's brownie points for if it is like on it, like a somewhat honest representation of who you are. Like if you're
yeah.
literally putting on a mask and pretending to be someone who is not at all like who you are on a day-to-day basis, I think it
Mhm.
just doesn't ring,
Yeah.
honestly. And humans still have this like narrative perception where they're like, if someone's being dishonest with me, whether they're actually lying to me, they could actually be telling me something, but acting as if they're like, we can see that for some reason. It's like the same way we recognize AI, even if it's
Mhm.
really good AI, is still AI. There's this
Mhm.
there's this part of us that's like, I can't trust this person if it's not an original representation, or at least a somewhat original representation of who they are.
And so
Um,
that's exactly why, and I've said that lifestyle content is the number one way to sell, right?
yep.
Lifestyle content, because when you want to buy a car, you can just go online and buy a car from a guy that lives at freaking cars. You want to buy a horse, you're going to go online or you're going to see the guy. You can see his video, his whole life is horses, right? And so that's the future. The future is that, look, networks are going away.
Yeah.
Networks are going away so much, and it happens so quickly. As soon as the fake news, whatever. But then Trump and them, they let these influencers into the White House, and so now we see what the future is going to look like. Right? We're fumbling close to the was that idiocracy. But if we do this right, then we have true transparency in government as much as we can, through the press, and a free press that's not swayed, because influencers, there's too many of them that you'd have to wrangle in. So, but people are getting their information in a very different way now, and they're going to continue to do that. And so, lifestyle content, to be there living it, is the way to sell it. And to build a brand around that, so that when you're tired of living it and you want to get your ass off TikTok, like Rooster will be here in a couple of years, that the brand continues to work for you, and that my agents or acquisition agents or dispo agents or whatever can represent the brand well. I'm probably going to go ahead and get licensed back again. I have a LLC and we have a broker that works for us. So I have a sponsored broker for my LLC that I own a part of, and that it's a loophole here kind of in Texas to where I'm able to still make money off of selling properties through the LLC that has a broker for it. But we're about to rebrand a realty, ranch lander realty, build a team of land agents that understand wholesale and retail operations and are able
Mhm.
to get with their, potential. We have so many leads, like so many leads. If, honestly, if you're a land listing agent and you want some leads in Texas, you want to offer me some value, and I'll fill your inbox with old fellers that would just love to sell their land if you could get them the right price. And they're all retail prices, right? We understand these leads, but we're talking multi-million-dollar pieces of land, and so I'm going to start this realty up and get these agents going and I'm quite certain that I can, pretty much using that brand power and the reputation and the rapport we already have, hand over hot leads to all of my agents where they're going to go out and be able to sign up big farm and ranch, large acreage pieces of land, and we'll get them listed. So right now we do a little bit of novations, but big land tracts take a long time, and so novations, unless you have a really good spread, it's not going to work. And so right now, it seems like if we can get a good enough spread, then we'll just close on it and subdivide it. So we haven't used a lot of novations on bigger deals, but it's definitely something we use. So,
Yeah,
but
so I guess that kind of brings us back to land, right? And I have a couple more questions before we wrap here. We got about like 5, 10 more minutes. All right, so you're a Texas guy, right? I mean, you don't really operate outside of Texas?
not really.
Okay,
No.
so what's the insider opinion on Texas? Where do you see growth? Where do you see shrinkage? What sort of properties, markets, anything that you can tell us as it relates to the Texas market? I'd be interested in your opinion.
So as far as shrinkage, there's not actual shrinkage. It's just pullback from accelerated growth, right? And so it's not as accelerated as it was. But Texas is still booming in regards to, in comparison to most the world and the nation, right? But as far, in Texas, we understand the part of Texas we all love is called the Texas Triangle. You got Dallas, Houston, San Antonio, Austin, right? And so everything inside there, most everything anyway, because right in the middle of that, you've kind of got some areas that's not so great, but the Texas Triangle is where we focus a lot. Then down, Corpus Christi, we focus a little bit outside of El Paso. And so it's really just the major, 4, 5, or 6 cities, in that I-35 corridor. Texas is pretty easy to navigate if you really, or just to understand when you really start to look at it on the map, is that, West Texas, there's not much. The Panhandle's not much. We are doing some deals around Lubbock. So, but, if you're coming into Texas from the outside and trying to understand the market here, and you really want to, go right to the best bet, it's probably the DFW market, west, north, especially, but all around DFW. And I can get that from investor feedback, and on my, my TikTok, I'll do a video, 100,000 views on it, 1,000 comments, and they're all asking, hey, do you have anything around DFW? So I'll tell you right now, there's a lot of, if you're looking where to dispo land, 5, 10 acre tracts, DFW is great, but also the valley and the border, like the border's secure now. And even before, they were still a ravenous hunger for seller finance tracts along the border, because we've got immigrants, right, that are they're I-10 buyers. They may not have documented income or W-2s, but these guys have concrete companies and framing companies and tile laying companies, and they make, they got 50 grand sitting under their mattress, right? Somebody needs to find some land. So Texas is like a bunch of different markets in one, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you live out on the East Coast, it's definitely like a bunch of different markets in one. So you pick your poison. But around Austin, San Antonio, Houston, and Dallas, you're not going to miss if you know how to run numbers. The growth is going to be there. There was a little bit of pullback in San Antonio, I think, the last year or two, but that was just from the massive accelerated growth, I think, also. So Texas is a great place to invest. I have followers that call me from New York City, baby, and they're like, hey, let me get some money in Texas land, and we do deals, And,
yeah, exactly. And we actually, for a while, we were operating in like 14 states, and we completely withdrew back to Texas. There's just, there's nothing, maybe. So I always try to go off of data, and U-Haul, I mean, it's always the Freedom Belt, right? So it's like, I'm pretty sure South Carolina was the most moved to. Second was Texas, North Carolina, Tennessee, Arkansas. I can't remember what the last one was, but Florida.
Florida.
So those are all our big states that we've always been successful in. But Texas, like, well, I can drive there. Like, I can drive to a place in Texas. So if I'm doing a subdivision and I'm wanting to create a bunch of content, now that's a big factor now. Is like, I want to be able to be there, running a drone while we're putting a road in, and looking like an idiot, recording myself walking all over the place, because that's what pays.
It does pay. It's important. It may not sell those tracks, but it'll raise the money on your next project.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? And so whatever it does for you, but the branding on both sides, like I said, if you play it right with a brand that can stand in the middle and not just be of service to investors or retail clients, but you can kind of do it all,
Mhm.
And so, like I said, I'm not that smart. I just have balls and went for it, And so that's what it takes sometimes. If there's super smart people out there wondering how the hell did this damn redneck rooster, how did it work out for him? Because I went out there and did it. I showed up and I kept showing up, And so I encourage y'all to get out and make content and be stupid and be silly and be vulnerable or be willing to embarrass yourself. Because there's two types of people that are going to watch you. If you're concerned about making content thinking, oh, I'll look silly or I don't know what people will think of me, will be embarrassed. There's two types of people. There's haters, and we need those. And I'll tell you why in just one second. But the other people are going to be the people that they may not like you or follow you, but they're silently cheering you on, or they're going, "Hey, I wonder if this guy's going to hit it." Right?
Mhm.
They're not hating. They're not either way. They'll stay neutral. Which is that a bad thing or a good thing? It doesn't have to be a good thing. It's not a bad thing. People don't matter, and they're too absorbed with themselves to really care or think about what you're doing anyway. So
Yeah.
and I just say, get out there and put yourself out there. That's it. Come on, nothing but good can come of it. Nobody's going to get on there and be like, "Oh, that guy looks silly as hell. I'm not investing in his land deal."
Yeah.
Like he already thought that. You know what I'm saying? So like the video didn't change that. So
Hustlers recognize hustle.
that's
That's what
it.
they see. If you're out there and you're making a presence, you're doing whatever. If you are exposing yourself to the elements, people are gonna be like, people who are the ones you want to have an opinion of you are gonna be the ones who are like, all right, I see it. He's trying. He's got his thing going.
Yeah. That's it.
Well,
It's just about consistency. I know a guy who's done hundreds of podcasts and not one of them have over 200 views. He's been doing it for 3 years, right? But he's been able to raise so much money
oh yeah.
because he's consistent.
Mm-hmm.
And he didn't need 90 investors. He needed 2 or 3 investors to go do a couple of subdivisions, and he
Yeah.
got them.
All you need is a first investor, and then you do well with a first investor, and he introduces you to everybody else. And
Yeah.
in our industry, it's not like you need access to $100 million to go
No,
change your life.
no.
We're usually doubling our money.
Yeah. You couldn't find deals to spend 100 million right now anyway, especially if you're new.
Yeah.
Like you don't have
Yeah.
to worry about that. Like you only need enough money for the deals you can find. So how many deals can you really find at this point? Like you don't need that much money,
Yep.
I mean, we're doing a seller carry deal. I'm 100 acres. Yeah, I'll give you 700 cash or I'll give you 800 if you can carry the note for 12 months. Well, why are you doing that? Because it's 700 grand. I got to go raise 700 and give half the profit away. So
Mm-hmm.
if I just pay you an extra 100 and give you 80 grand down and me and I'll get a buddy to throw me to 80 as a bridge loan instead of having a partner, right? And so land, there's all kinds of ways in land that you couldn't necessarily do in houses to use creative to make money without any type of you know or banks or whatever.
That's
What I'm
right.
saying. So
That's right.
yeah, the creative land, those are our favorite. Getting the old farmer to let us subdivide it and either giving us great terms or just saying, "Hey, buddy, look, I'm Rooster. I have the brand. I have the website. I have the TikTok, baby. Come on, look at me. So I can sell these. You want 8,000 an acre? I can sell these for, 10, 11, 12,000 an acre cash. And I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll give you 9,000 an acre. We're just going to do a joint venture contract. I'll pay for the surveys. And each time I sell one, I get everything over 9,000 an acre. Boom. Old man signs up. I'm like, okay, I just created a new way to do deals. Right. And so this is the kind of stuff we teach that those type in my private mentorship, the bigger deals and doing those type of deals. But that's why I love land, because when we say creative, we mean get creative, like fucking get creative and
Yeah.
figure it out. Like
Yep.
and the old man in his overalls, he's like, I don't need the $1 million right now, but I'm tired of going out there. I don't want my girls fighting over it if I croak tomorrow. And I would like to send my wife to Paris next summer.
Yeah.
We'd like to go on a trip. That's all the time. And we also talk to a lot of people who are like, well, not right now. And then 6 months later, they call us back and they're like, husband's dead. I've got cancer, all this. So what we've learned is that, these big landowners are senior citizens. right? Many of them. And so we just have to follow up is really a big thing in this industry. And if you'll do that, you'll get into some big deals. And having the
Yep.
brand helps when following up too. Hey, this is Rooster Vance Land. Not, hey, this is Alan.
Yeah.
Guy named Alan you spoke to 6 months ago.
Yep.
Oh, man, this is Rooster. Cock a doodle doo, baby. What you been doing?
Yeah. And that's a big
But
state. You're
it's
not
a
going to
big
run out
state.
of deals.
That's it. Yeah. So, but anyway, yeah, get out there and build your brand, guys, and put yourself out there on social media. If I see y'all making land videos, anytime I ever see anybody making content on land, I like them and follow, no matter if they have 50 followers or 5 million every single time. I'm always wanting to be supportive. And I think that people should make more content, and because it's the more people that making content, we're getting rid of the content that is force fed us, right? By the what used to be, the record labels and the Hollywood, and it's all getting away. We were force fed, which was basically propaganda, and it was always there was a narrative inlaid in almost everything, right? And so the freedom that we truly have is to go out there and express ourselves and drown out the noise of those people who are just robots and stealing up all the space that y'all could have, going out and being original content creators, guys. Come on.
Hell yeah. Well, Rooster, thank you. We're at the top of the hour. I guess, so you already plugged your website, but just one more time, where can people get to you? What do you want them to go look at?
I'm on TikTok at Ranchland is there. And then I'm on Instagram and YouTube, Rooster_Vance. I also have a Facebook group, Flipping Land with Rooster Vance. And, if you ever want to ask me a question or anything, feel free to hit me up in there. Or you can see kind of my branding and all what I do at my website, nocreditland.com. My education links are on there also. So
hell yeah.
I appreciate you, brother.
Yeah, and I'm going to see you a little over a week over at Bascar's event. So
yeah. Come on.
Hell yeah.
That's right.
Cool.
That's going to be a good group down there. Good. Anybody, if y'all see this week, that's y'all come down to that Texas Land Exchange.
That's right. And then the next week, Bascar's coming up to Dallas at my event. So you can come to the DFW Land Investor Seminar, baby.
Hey, I gotta show up for that. I need to. The last few months I've been kind of dug in over here. I've been changing a lot of things on the business and at the farm. So I got to get back out. Sun's shining again. It's springtime. So it's good.
You got it. It feels good.
Come on.
All right, man. Well, folks, thank you for listening. Subscribe. Go check out all of Rooster Vance's stuff, and we'll see you on the next one. Cheers.
Appreciate y'all. Have a good one.